An ex-grunge rocker finds love on the slopes, and the love librarian gets naughty in the stacks. Welcome to a mini episode of Reader Seeks Romance Channel's Romance Roundup, the #1 romance book recs talk show. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I'm Libby K, author of the sweet romance series Buckeye Falls and the upcoming When Sparks Fell.
Libby and I report back to you, our loyal fans, about the TBR romances we mentioned on the show that we have read and loved. Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance Channel and like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on PodBean and all podcast apps and leave us a review. Follow us on Instagram at Libby K Author and Reader Seeks Romance. Hello, Libby.
Hello, Liz.
We have an exciting mini episode because we both have romance books to report back on that we recommend. And I'm so excited that the book you're reporting back about is that Gen X romance.
Yes. And yeah. I'm so excited that I will, little note, the other ones I've mentioned recently, I haven't read them yet. It's not that I didn't like them. I legitimately have not had the chance to pick them up. So little caveat, because I'm hoping to pick up one of them this weekend when I have a little bit more time. But yes, as I was reading it and loving it, I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to report back. I finally read Come As You Are by Jess K. Hardy. This came out in 2021 from her own imprint, and it is book 1 in the Bluebird Basin series. And I will go on record as saying I have already ordered the second book, which is already out, which is Lips Like Sugar. And the third, which I believe this is just going to be a trilogy, Wish You Were Here, which is one of my favorite Incubus songs. I hope there's an Incubus element. Music is obviously part of the first story, so I'm hopeful that there are some Incubus references, which is a very random thing to say.
Oh my God. I went through a huge Incubus stage in my life, and I made a CD, not a mixtape, but a CD for my husband at the time, just dating, and we were long distance. And there is an Incubus song on it, and it's Wish You Were Here. I cannot believe you mentioned Incubus because
I can't believe that you and Tom have a connection to Incubus. Reese and I, when we started dating in college, I remember getting in his car, his old beat up Honda. I remember the song Miss You. I miss you. And we were so freaking cheesy, and we were like, idiot 20-year-olds. I mean, we're still idiots, we're just older. Yeah. But I remember we would listen to that, and then we'd listen to the others. Oh my God, no, I just freaking love Incubus. So I'm so excited. No idea that you liked Incubus.
Over the seasons we've done, 3 seasons, 50 plus episodes, I feel like we're experiencing our own romance arc as friends.
Yes. I think it's touching, and I'm enjoying these little connections.
Yeah, I am too.
It's rewind time.
I finally read Come As You Are by Jess K. Hardy. Just giving a very bare bones recap of what this book is about. We have a 50-something recovering addict / former grunge rock star. His name is Matthew Madigan. They call him Mad Madigan.
Now we have a Willow reference for one of my favorite Val Kilmer performances.
Oh, Val Kilmer, R.I.P. I'll go on record as saying, unpopular opinion, he was my favorite Batman.
Interesting choice.
Wow.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, to be honest, I had forgotten he even was in Batman.
It was just campy and cheesy, and I don't know.
Okay. Well, interesting.
In fairness, I haven't probably seen the movie in 20 years, so I'm sure my opinion would change, but
that is a hot take.
Yeah.
It's a hot take.
Libby's hot take. Best Batman. Anywho.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
So anyway, so we have our aging grunge rocker Madigan, and he has he's in charge of a rehab center for recovering addicts, and they need jobs in this lovely mountain town in Montana. And who needs help is Ashley is our heroine. She's in her mid-40s. She's come out of a horrible, bitter divorce. She has a grown daughter in college that she is trying to keep this mountain ski resort afloat for, and it also is in her family. So there's a lot of, she's very family focused, and she's very hesitant at first to work with Madigan and his guys because she has a lot of, preconceived notions on what working with recovering addicts would look like. So long story short, it obviously is going to work out well because this is the basis of the entire book. So what I loved about this book was not only the arc of Ashley, there's an arc with her and her mother and her daughter and her ex, and that was all very satisfying, even though her ex is a total jackass, like they usually are in these books. But I also liked Madigan's personal arc of working with the others in recovery, talking about his history and what this job and everything looks like to him. The communication in this book is top notch. These are clearly a 40-something and a 50-something being freaking adults. They have very frank discussions about their pasts, about boundaries they don't want to cross in terms of physical, emotional, planning for the future, all sorts of things. The conflict is very authentic. You have a woman who is in a very long-term marriage. It imploded spectacularly. And I feel like her reactions, if God forbid I was in her situation, I would probably feel the same way. Although if a sexy tattooed former rock star came over, I'd probably loosen my morals quicker than she did.
So is this a slow burn then?
It's a bit of a slow burn. I think it takes about 50% of the book. So I consider that a slow burn for shenanigans to ensue. And I have to say, my favorite thing when I was rereading the back of the book, it actually says during Bunny Hill shenanigans and chair-lip confessions, Madigan teaches Ashley that a person's past doesn't define them. So the fact that they use shenanigans in the description, I'm like, I love this book even more.
Shenanigans in itself should be a trope. It should be just shenanigans.
Yes, it should. And there were good shenanigans. And I feel like the shenanigans in this book were extra enjoyable, which sounds funny, because there was so much communication and emotion beforehand. It wasn't just a quick hop in the sack. Not that there's anything wrong with that in books or in life. But for me, that made it even more special. But the sets, you can read this and be done with it. But she does, Jess K. Hardy does set this up to have Davis, who is Ashley's daughter, is going to be the focus of book 3. And she's with Kevin, who is one of the guys in recovery. And they're lining this up, and the description of book 3 is that he does have a relapse, and that's where the story picks up, is they have broken up because of his relapse. It sounds emotional, it sounds gut-wrenching, and I will say if addiction storylines, whether through the viewpoint of the addict or the addict's friends and family, are a problem, I would completely skip this trilogy, because that is very much a focus of the first one, and I can tell from the descriptions of the second and third. So if that is a sticky point for you, I would recommend just ignoring me and don't read these, because that is definitely going to be a trigger. The romance, again, it felt authentic to people in their 40s and 50s. It was sweet. He does make her a mixtape, and it was an actual tape because he has an old beat up car that can only do cassettes. Wow. And so there was some nice nostalgia with that. And there's a lot of music references, which was the music I was listening to at the time, because we're basically the same age in this book. Right. So that was cool. I don't have enough good things to say about Come As You Are by Jess K. Hardy. I will eagerly read the next 2.
I am intrigued. Is Jess a indie author? Self-published?
This is on her own imprint.
Well, I love to support indie romance authors. So
me too. So yeah, I am officially a Jess K. Hardy fan. I don't know what she could possibly do to change my mind. So don't break my heart, Jess.
Well, that sounds like a solid book recommendation, and I am going to add that to my TBR.
Now it's time for Liz to report back.
Thanks, little Jimmy. I loved Olivia Spring's The Love Librarian, set in the idyllic English coastal town of Sunshine Bay. And it is book 2 in the Romance Library series, self-published by Olivia Spring, March 2025. Olivia is also a traditionally published author, so she is hybrid, and she traditionally publishes with Boldwood Books. Right now, I am in love with her Romance Library series, and I hope that it never ends. So this is what's, it was one of those, like, I stayed up until like 4:30 in the morning reading it. I could not stop. And that is a great feeling. As you know, is there a name for that? Like when you get, it's like an upset, like you cannot, it's like you're in a zone.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
cannot stop.
that's one of the things I actually was going to ask when we interview Sri again about the psychology. Was the psychology of book slumps versus when you, because I am, as I will describe in a moment, obsessed with an author right now, and I am systematically going probably too quickly through her catalog to the point where I'll get burned out. But yeah, I wonder what the psychology is. If it's like, why do we just like latch on and then we just can't stop? Because, you know, I've gone to bed at 3 a.m. before because books are so good and I didn't want to stop, or, you know, might have been late to work once because of that.
So the other two books that I loved of Olivia's that I mentioned in previous episodes were The Romance Library and The Match Faker. At this point, now that I've read The Love Librarian and loved it so much, I'm going to say that Olivia Spring can do no wrong in my book, and that this book is an early contender for the best of 2025. The Love Librarian is a steamy, thoroughly romantic, unputdownable, friends to lovers, small town romance. It is a love letter to romance readers. So romance reading habits, book discussions, fandom are interwoven throughout the book. If you're a romance reader, you're going to see yourself reflected in this book. And the setting, which is the town of Sunshine Bay, it's like, you know, by the beach, and it's, you know, you get to meet all the different people who live there. And a lot of it happens at the Romance Library. It's just perfect, just the perfect setting. Like, I want to step into this book and never come out. Here's the gist of it. So former high school friends and outcasts, Jane and Jackson, are reunited as adults when they're both working at the Romance Library, which is a library, bookstore, cafe that caters to romance readers and celebrates romance fiction. If this could actually become possible, Libby.
I was just going to say, can we make that happen in real life?
This is insane. It's like there's a lending library. Now, this is all private because you learn the background of the library and how it comes to be in the Romance Library, book 1. And so this woman with lots of money who loved romance books bequeaths this money to this woman that she meets. And she's like, you got to open up a romance library. So buy this old school and make it so. So now in book 2, we see that romance library growing. So now it's a lending library. There's a bookstore. They're going to be doing events. And they just added a cafe called Love and Lattes.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yes. 31-year-old librarian and virgin Jane lives with her.
It's just the fact that that was included. I'm sorry.
That it happens what?
That was like the other descriptor is she's a librarian. And did I mention she's a virgin? I'm sure that is a very important plot point.
Well, you know,
as a librarian, it's funny that that's the second thing you describe her.
I know. What I reworded that sentence many, many times because this is my.
Oh, okay.
This is my description. Okay. Yes. No, I want to say that Olivia Spring wrote a very eloquent book description. I was just kind of creating my own. And when I did it, I guess it was kind of reductive. It's like, well, she's a virgin and she's a librarian. But being a virgin plays into the story, but she is not a typical virgin heroine, you know, like the type that most people don't care for. She's not that. Okay. I thought I should let you know. So 31-year-old librarian / virgin Jane lives with her toxic family. So she's got a lot going on at home. And Jackson, as his mother's caretaker, is in financial dire straits. There's so much I want to tell everyone, but I won't, because I refuse to steal the joy of discovery from everyone who is watching and listening right now. So I will give some blurby bullet points about the story and also mention that there is an author's note with content warnings. So please take care. So here are my blurby bullet points. A non-tropey virgin hero, former high school friends to work friends to workplace lovers, secret crush, secret identity, living out romance fiction fantasies, self-care, biscuits and tea, community working together to save a bookstore, and a villain is afoot subplot And I've created that, and I'm hoping that becomes an
I
actual
like
subplot.
that.
Yeah.
I
villain-
like that.
Thank you. A villain is afoot. Now, I did write that a little fancy because it takes place in England, and I feel like everything they say is a little extra fancy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There is a little bit of a subplot where somebody's doing something bad. Somebody out there doesn't like the romance library. This is very steamy. Like, this is very
really?
steamy. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Isn't this the same author that did the rocking chair scene that you talked about
Yes,
last year?
it is.
All right, giddy up.
Yes, it is. And I really want to say a lot, but I don't because it's going to ruin the sexy and the steaminess of it all. But I can say it's very steamy. There's a lot of yearning.
Oh,
I would
I love
say,
yearning.
yeah, I would say it's a slow burn. I would say it's a slow burn because I think it's past the 50% mark when
Oh,
things
okay.
start happening. Yeah. It is over 400 pages and you wouldn't even know it. So I think that should also be like a trope, like high page count, but it goes fast. Like I don't
High page count, fast read.
Ooh, that's a good one. High page count, fast read. You heard it here first on Romance Roundup. It's a very tight plot, no loose ends. And to me, there are no questionable plot choices. Everything serves a purpose.
That's
There's,
nice.
There's nothing extraneous on the page. So I appreciate that about all of Olivia's work, especially in The Love Librarian. Any book where you get to live out your romance fiction fantasies with the guy that you were crushing on in high school, and now, he's there for the taking. The other thing is, and I don't know if this is a trope, but like where the two people, they were outcasts together and that kind of helped them, I guess, form a friendship bond.
It should be if it's not a trope.
Yeah, it's like, and now as adults, like he's hot. I mean, he said she was always beautiful, but let's say that she also
Aw.
came into her own aesthetically. So I feel like there's almost like a transformation type of trope at play here. I highly recommend The Love Librarian by Olivia Spring. I love this series. I want it to continue forever. That's my book rack.
Every time we talk about her, it gets bumped up higher and higher. So maybe while I'm waiting for the next Jess K. Hardy to arrive, I'll dive in.
Yeah. Maybe we should have an episode on bump ups. What are the books that we have bumped up? Like,
Yes.
and where did it start on our list? Like, what number? And what is it bumped up to now? Like, maybe.
And I want to know the psychology. I don't know if people do this. Sometimes I bump a book down so far that when I finally pick it up, I'm like, God, this better be amazing. And I mean, it's not that some of them I've read and I'm like, ugh, I waited for this. And others I've read and I'm like, I'm mad that I waited a year to read it.
Sri Savita, who is the show's psychologist and did an episode, and Sri is a historical romance author. We did an episode with Sri and she talked about tropes and we got deep into that. We're having her back on. I'm excited to talk to her about bumping books up and down on your TBR. What was the other thing?
The book hangover, even if it's just one author's book and you're having trouble like hooking into something else, even if you're wanting to try something different, like what the psychology behind that is.
Right. And then book slumps. We'll be recording with her in May. So stay tuned for that. And that's our roundup. Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance channel and like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on PodBean and all podcast apps and leave us a review. Thanks for joining us, romance readers.
Happy reading, everyone.